The food. There was so much food. There was so much food. Like every street corner would have a little, like a tent, like a little kiosk, and there'd be someone cooking something. Always, and it was always delicious. Not like here's you know what I mean? It was always really good, man. Um, on Wellington, there was a couple of tents there. There was a lady from France who was there, and there was another gentleman from Quebec. He had like it was, I don't know how you call that hair. It was pretty long, but it was like kind of like Jamaican a little bit. But he was a white guy. but this guy was there. It didn't matter if you went there at like 8 in the morning or 2 in the morning. This guy, he was just so happy. And he always had either like an urn of hot chocolate or an urn of coffee going. And, I'd always stop in and say, could I have like a Freedom coffee or something like that? And he's absolutely coming right up, And it was like that all over the place. And man, there was another guy, G, right across from Parliament Hill, like right at the Langevin building. There's like Terry Fox statue. Man, what a great cook this guy. And he was so serious about it. Like he was very, and it didn't matter what time of day you went. And sometimes I was there at like midnight, maybe 1 in the morning, and he'd be cooking. This guy, he would have his burners going and his tables. And this guy was focused. And this guy made the best fried chicken, the best stews, like everything, man. Everything was, and there was always a lineup. There was always a lineup of people for what he cooked. It was always the only word is delicious. So gee, man, I don't even know where you're from. Like I would have quick chats with them, and so forgive me for not asking where you're from, but wherever you're from, man, I mean, they're lucky to have you, bro, because that was, in the middle of the night, sometimes with just like a little headlamp, right? And it would just be dark, and this guy, he'd be chopping these frozen potatoes, because you got to remember, it was like -20 some nights, right? Like everything would just freeze, but he was making it happen. He was pulling it together, ribs on rice, and like always really like, man, I haven't eaten that good in a long time. Let me tell you, that was really something. So, and it was like that all over the place, right? It was like that all over the place. I remember the shed, and I never really spoke to anybody at the shed, only because they seemed really busy all the time, and I just didn't want to be sort of one more person, bugging them or anything like that, right? But they built this shed on the back of I don't know, it's like a tandem flatbed on a tandem truck, but they built this wooden shed, and it just looked like a Molson Canadian shed, if you could imagine it. And I remember right next, I only know his name now, Tyler, in the Big Blue Kenworth, and he was like his driver's side would face the Parliament, and I'd always wave, and he'd always have his ball cap, and always grinning, super smiley. It didn't matter if it was 7 in the morning or 11 at night. I mean, this guy was at his post. And who else? Rev and Kevin. I mean, man, you want to talk about electricity, right? I mean, I would just get electrified just going near him, you know what I mean? And this guy would blow his horn, and Jake and Rev, that truck was doing this. It did this for 3 weeks. I don't even think this guy would ever take a break. It didn't matter if you went there morning, noon, or night. This guy, he was just having a great time. And every time I'd see him, I would just feel better. And I'd be like, right on, man. Right on. Rev and Kevin. Yeah. Wow. All of them. Yeah. a guy. It sounds like every time I start a story off, there was a guy. But there was a guy early on, and he had this huge bullhorn, right? And he had a flag, and he would go around in the evenings and he'd say, "Give up your QR code and get a free joint. It's a good deal." And this guy had a great voice. It just sounded so like it sounded like totally legit, right? So I'm talking to my buddy Josh about it, and hey Josh, how's it going, man? And his buddy's there, and we're talking about this guy, and he says, yeah, he giving out a free joint if you delete your QR code. He wasn't kidding, because he reached in his pocket and gave me a free joint. There were a lot of Indians here, a lot of Métis, a lot of warrior flags, Métis flags, Every Child Matter flags. There was a strong Indian component to the convoy, a lot of support from the Native community. What else I noticed about the signs? A lot of people who came, they would have handmade signs, right? Personalized, with their own message, whatever they wanted to communicate. And sometimes they'd hold the sign like this, or they'd hold the sign up on a, on a stick or something like that. And a lot of those signs, after they'd left, they would leave them along the Parliament Hill wall. So we're right up front of Parliament. If you're not familiar with it, there's a wall that runs along Wellington Street, in between Parliament and Wellington Street itself. So stone wall with like a gridiron top, and people would leave those signs there after when they were done. And it wasn't long that from like, this is, I don't know if it's like maybe 1.5 kilometers long, this wall, or 1 kilometer, but it was filled with signs, full of signs, like from the very bottom, like right to the top. And man, those messages, some of them were so touching, right? Really profound. Yeah.
Wonderful. We want to run
How are you, Michael?
But
Brother, how are you today? I'm great, man. How are you? Good, thank you.
This is a shout out to the streamers who broadcasted the event, the convoy, to millions of people in Canada and to millions of people around the world. The truth, right? And by doing that, you really exposed the so-called CBC, the so-called media. You slayed the fake news. You slayed them. That's what you did with your live streams, right? You just broadcasted the truth. So good job. I mean, some of these guys, man. I mean, they were streaming like 24 hours a day, and some of them would actually okay, I'm signing off now, so I'm asking all the viewers, switch on to this guy, and so those people would switch on to the next person, and they would just total teamwork, right? It was really pretty neat, pretty impressive to see. There was Freedom Central. Freedom Central was there, follow Freedom Central, and Druthers was there, big time, all the time. And there were so many others, and Ottawa Scotty, and if I'm forgetting anybody, forgive me, but you guys, man, you guys did a tremendous job. I mean, I had people, it's funny, right? Like I'm actually here. I'm here every day, right? And I would have people like from so far out of town send me fake news articles about what's happening here, trying to disparage what's happening here, they're like, oh, no, oh, Michael, oh, you got to read this. That's right. So telling me just discount everything you've seen, everything you've heard, every hand you've shaken, everything you've smelled, all the food you've eaten, just put that aside because I'm going to send you this news article from the fucking whatever. Oh, thanks. Oh, yeah, I'll get right on that. Now, let me get right on that. Like, how stupid do you have to be to think other people are that dumb? Like, I'm going to read that and just, you know what I mean? And that happened a lot. I mean, people would just read some fake news and get all upset about it. And one of the guys asked me, why are they like that? And I just said, man, these people are in a perpetual state of outrage. They're just like a hen with clipped wings, just stirring up dust. That's all they do. They just stir up dust. I mean, if it wasn't the 45th president of the United States, suddenly, they were political scientists, and then they became virologists. And now they're geopolitical PhD experts with what's going on in Ukraine. You know what I mean? So they're always mad about something. It's not about you. It's just how they are, right? They just deep throat the TV and everything. They'll put a camera on something. They'll say, "Oh, you better get really mad about this," and they'll just lose their minds, and they will. They're just they're really trained that way. So. That was one dynamic of the convoy. I'm not going to waste any more time discussing it, but that happened, and good job to the streamers and everybody. Everybody became a journalist when they would, TikTok, all the social medias when they were getting the word out. I mean, that was just so incredibly effective. So yeah, big shout out. Good job.
I love the smell of diesel in the morning. It smells like victory.
For some reason, there was a lot of people, or I met a lot of people from Peterborough. For some reason, I don't know. So I want to give a shout out to Peterborough. And there were some guys from Peterborough early on. And they said, hey, you live here. There's usually a lot of protests happening in Ottawa. Like, how does this rate, with what you've seen, right? And I said, bro, Ottawa has never seen anything like this. Never. I mean, we've never seen anything like this before. It was so it was like King Kong just came into town and just squatted down and said, "I'm fucking here." You know what I mean? It was such a, it came in with such strength, with such speed, with such overwhelming, like nobody could have anticipated this, even myself. Like I wasn't even in the know. I just knew there was a protest happening. And then all of a sudden, oh my God. I mean, literally, I would just walk around some days and just, and this is another thing too, right? I walked. And no matter where I happened to be, there was always more to see, more to hear, right? And sometimes there would be areas that I was just discovering for the first time. And I would just be like told, like I didn't even know what to say. I would just be in awe, right? And just grinning, like just so. I mean, it's like it's well over a month now, and I'm still processing what happened, right? It was such a, my God, it was such, oh, what you guys did, man. There's no event. I mean, Watson, he was mean. You know what I mean? It was, everyone was freaking out over there. They were totally like, what are we doing?
Thank you, Justin Trudeau, for uniting a
You
nation.
didn't have to do anything. You could have just, because, you know, for a lot of people, for those at least million people who came, and the millions around the world who supported, you know, it was a tremendous moment of healing that needed after such a difficult time. It was a coming together that needed to happen, and it did happen. I met the lady who came from Calgary in her van, the white van, who she interviewed with Viva Frei, and she came here, you know, with the most respect. She came here for her sons but I met you a couple times, and I met you in Van Cleek Hill, and we had a really nice visit, and I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to connect, but that was another really nice moment. I really enjoyed that chat we had. That was, yeah, that was really nice. Yeah. I just made a little list too of some of the places where people were from, the truckers and some guys in the convoy in RVs all over Quebec. And so I wanted to give you a special mention. Let me see, I wrote them down. There was people I met from Terrebonne, people from Lévis, La Côte-Nord, Montreal, of course, Saint-Eustache, and Baie-Comeau. When my girlfriend and I went down and we had that very special Saturday, man, there was this, yeah, they would just, I mean, on Rob's Corner there was guys from Leduc and Nisku, and, you know, my girlfriend would get in the trucks, you know, and it was just, you know, and they just let her just, you know, blow those horns, right? It was, and rev the engines, and it was, God, it was fun. But I remember that day, there was a gentleman, un monsieur qui venait de Baie-Comeau. Et puis, il y avait un Peterbilt vert. Et puis, la compagnie, c'était Transport Neuf. Juste tellement fin, puis tu avais laissé ma blonde embarquer sur le truck ce jour-là, man. Puis tu l'as laissé touter la horn aussi, sonner le klaxon. On avait tellement de fun. T'étais super gentil, t'étais super, là, juste première classe, là, super bon gars. Fait que, tu sais, si tu vois ça, je te salue, mon chum, puis Baie-Comeau all the way. Yeah, I was just saying that there was a guy there too from all the way from Baie-Comeau, and he was really terrific to visit with. He made that Saturday I went down with my girlfriend just extra special, like Baie-Comeau, like who would think, right? But thanks for being here. And Drummondville, Yeah, there was a bunch of people from Drummondville, from Drummond, and some guys in an RV specifically. I had a really nice visit with. Yeah, they were from Drummondville and Tedford Mines, and of course there was a lot of people from La Beauce for some reason, which is a very special place. So wanted to give you guys a very special shout out and a special appreciation for being here and everyone. It didn't matter where you're from, but these are places that I'm familiar with too. So I wanted to recognize you guys. So thank you. I want to give a shout out to Dave from Montreal, the red dump truck near Sussex and Rideau. We went over the fried chicken. So hey man, good to see you again. And right near where there were two ladies, just the loveliest ladies you could imagine. And it was 11 o'clock at night. Started chatting with them, and they told me that they came from Mont-Tremblant, and they would come in the afternoon and they would stay till about midnight. And they had this giant pot of soup. Like it was like a huge pot, right? And it was on top of a propane burner, and they had a little propane tank, and it was all set up on a table outside, like right in the street, kind of amongst the trucks, right? And I asked her, how often do they come? And they said, we come every second night. Every 2 days, we come from Mont-Tremblant with this huge soup. And I was really impressed. I said, every second night, right? And this moment, she just this most natural smile that you can imagine. And she held her hand out and she says, of course, on vient appuyer les camionneurs. We come to support the truckers. Yeah, and so she dipped in this soup, and they had these little disposable bowls, and she poured me a soup, and I went and sat on the curb. It was just fantastic, just another special moment. Yeah, and Mike from Low. Hey, Mike. Yeah, this guy. I hadn't seen him in so long, and he just, this was another sort of like really late in the evening encounter. He shouts out to me, but he came from Low, Quebec, and he was wearing his flag, like a cape. And I was like, holy cow, he says, no, man, I come here every day. I come here every day to support. And Low is not next door, right? It's quite the drive. So hey, Mike, yeah, good to see you again. Tiger, take a bow. Want to say hello to everybody? Hey, you're a little baby. Hey, you're a little tiger. I want to give a shout out to Eric as well. Load safe all the way. Man, this guy, he was always so busy talking to people. We didn't chat very often, but, I would always just make sure, if he was even talking with someone, I kind of interrupted a little bit, but I just, just let him know that right on, right? Yeah, I really, he kind of had his own little setup there, but he was lone man. He was holding the line there right out front of the Chateau Laurier, man, like a big boss, that was just hard parked right sideways, loved it, man. This guy, he was great. Yeah, he was great. And I also want to send a hello to Glenn and Diane in Harriston. They have the blue and white cab over. So Glenn and Diane, full support. We're so proud of you. And it's very, very nice to meet you. So all the way. You got to remember, you have to remember, the day the truckers rolled into town, okay, le goat, he was going to tax his people over what we're not allowed to talk about. He was going to tax them. Okay, it was full on, full on. And within a week of the truckers being here, flexing, that's what it was. It was a massive flex. Okay, all of a sudden, all the provinces, man, they were all scaling back the regulations. All of them. And it just started, it just went like this, like dominoes, right? So you got to remember, when they rolled into town, they were going to tax people over this. And now look, now you can eat in a restaurant and you don't have to, you know what I mean? You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to show a passport. You could just go into a restaurant like a normal person and you can have a meal. And you know who did that? The truckers did that. So thank you, truckers. So what would I give to relive those 3 weeks? And I thought about it, right? What would I give? And it's just automatic. Like I don't even have to think about it. I'd give anything. I'd give anything to just go back in time. And you know, I'd do some things different, but it was, I would give anything for those 3 weeks. And I do some things a lot differently. But that's how amazing it was. It was a truly historic event, which the largest civil rights movement of our day, of our time, of this generation anyways. And man, it happened right here, you know? It happened right across the street. How fortunate, right? How fortunate. Yeah, I'd give anything, man, to go back in time and be there again. Yeah. I'm not going to talk too much about the last, how it ended. I don't even like thinking about it. I mean, they could have, one police person could have just shown up and just tapped someone on the shoulder and said, okay, you're under arrest. And they would have went. One person could have accomplished it. And I made it up to Wendell's truck and it was running and it was so loud, I remember. And the thing is, the door didn't open and the window didn't open for whatever reason. I don't know what, but the little triangle door, the little window, it opened. And for some reason, I don't know, with everything that was going on, but I heard that the gentleman introduced himself as Troy from Nova Scotia. It's what I heard. And I couldn't even fit my hand in there to shake him, right? So I just went there with my fingers, right? And he was leaning forward and we were yelling at each other, you know, what we were trying to say. And he took off his glove. He had these big work gloves and he took off his glove and he just through the window, we could just, you know, he held my fingers like this. And that's a moment I'll always remember. And there was Chaba in his windows were down and he had a passenger with him. And I remember, man, the way Wellington is, like from the Terry Fox statue, like you're a little bit lower and the road, it bows a little bit, right? But man, his truck with that big, beautiful overcab, it just seemed like this big red chariot, right? And Chaba, I remember, man, he was at the wheel and revving his engine and the horns were honking and those fucking whatever you want to call them, they were coming. And he had his hands on the wheel, man, like this, like he was, you know, his back was straight, you know, and his face was stern and he was ready. And that was, to me, we had a brief exchange, and I spoke to him about it afterwards. Man, what a man of tremendous courage, tremendous courage. All of them, all you truckers are courageous men. I hopped up and I thanked them, and they told me, that we don't speak English, and so I spoke to the lady, la madame dans le côté du passager. J'ai dit, madame, vous êtes choyée. Vous avez épousé un homme de grand courage. Votre mari est un homme courageux. And so I told her, I said, Miss, you are blessed because your husband is a man of great courage. You've married a courageous man. And said our goodbyes, and I was at the top of Kent on the second to last day. There was a guy, tractor trailer with a flatbed, and he was trying to get turned around, and he was jackknifed, and there was a Jeep Cherokee that was left behind in the middle of the street right near an intersection for some reason. Doors were locked, everything was out, and there was about 7 of us. We all pushed that vehicle, we pushed it over about a lane over, and that trucker was able to back his trailer up proper. And I asked him, I said, where are you going now? And he said, I'm going back to Manitoba. And he just seemed okay, he seemed really content. And we all waved, and he drove off. And the last 3 trucks, there was a red truck, and I asked him where he was going, and he said he was going back home too, and he was from La Beauce. Yeah. Another gentleman from Saint Eustache. I think he had the Texas Longhorns on the top, but I remember it was his truck was from Saint Eustache. And there was another gentleman too from Nova Scotia, and his truck had the suicide door. His doors would open from the front like this, and his truck was black. And if you're watching this, man, I ran with you as long as I could, and then you got to the intersection, and then you hooked left, and I remember you still had your big flagpole, and your flag was just like this. And ran with you as long as I could, and you were heading south to the highway. Yeah, so I mean, how it ended, it didn't end. It wasn't supposed to end that way. Cheated. It was. So many people were cheated. I mean, there's so much. I mean, I could talk for weeks about everything that happened. And then, as a matter of fact, as I left those trucks, I was heading back home, obviously not feeling too good about things. And right up the hill here, right nearby. I just had a quick exchange with a couple of guys, and this lady out of nowhere, she comes up and she shakes my hand out of nowhere, and then she gave me this Virgin Mary medallion. And she put it in my hand like that and closed it. That was it. Right? I mean, how do you end it, right? I mentioned the signs. There was a lot of signs, and I would never take a sign. But I confess, And near the end, I took one. I took one, and that's how I'm going to end this video. And I'm going to show you the sign I took, and I hope you don't mind. And maybe you'll even recognize the sign. Maybe you made this, and you'll recognize it. And before I do, though, if we've had exchanges and we didn't get a chance to connect, please reach out to me. This isn't the end. There's more to this story. There's more to it. So this is the sign I took. And I keep it in a safe place. And if I ever need to bring it out of retirement, I got it handy. It's right here. Okay. And it says everything that needs to be said.